Hey, what is up, guys? How's it going? Thank you for tuning in tonight. If you're new here, my name is Ben. My channel is KameTrick, and here we enjoy the drift life. As you can see on screen there, I drift in real life. We're riding on board with me right now. This is my red Nissan 240SX, or S13, if you are more into chassis codes. And we are back with a little bit of Assetto Corsa drift simulation going on today. In the past couple weeks, we've been enjoying some Initial D arcade drifting on the Toge. Well, drifting, it's a little bit different, but we're back with super realistic Assetto Corsa mod physics here in yet another Friday. How are you guys doing? Don't forget to take a second and hit like. It does help the stream grow, especially here at the start. Holy shit, we got Dane in the house as well. Opon, what is up? Matthews, how are you? Jose Costello, what is up? And with the TX as well. Reacts is in here. Jale, how are ya? Initial TIS is realistic drifting. Yeah, exactly. Super realistic. Yeah, it's very difficult, I will say, to go from drifting in Initial D arcade stage to drifting similar tracks in Assetto Corsa, because you just don't have to use the brakes in Initial D. You full throttle everything. Tyler, what is up? First time watching the stream, convinced you to get a wheel. Rad, man. Well, hopefully you get a wheel that you're happy with. It's always a challenge, whether it's in the simulator or in real life, balancing the budget with, like, aspirationally what you want to have and the performance you want to have. I do have a list of recommended wheels in the description of all my videos down at the bottom. The ones I really prefer people to get are belt drive wheels, which are a bit expensive, but if you are super focused on drifting, on the long haul, they're totally worth it. Either way, do what you can, and I'm sure you'll enjoy being in the wheel gang. How are you, Doomy? Holy shit, I can't wait to Tandem. Right on, man. Yeah, I will see you on track. If you don't have the same username, you may have to remind me so that I know to look for you out there, but I'm sure we'll have a chance. Dane, rims on my 240SX are Atara Racing. They are 17 by 90 offset wheels. First time here, Matthews. Right on, man. Hopefully I'm saying your name right. It's either Mateus or Matthews. Brian, what is up? Thank you. The videos helped you learn how to drift a year ago. Awesome, dude. Well, I'm glad to hear that, and thank you for letting me know and tuning in. Turbo Enrique, how are you, man? Man's GOT's right on. I'll look for you. Hey, Ryan. Just picked up a Fanatic. I said it right. Oh my god, I said it right. Someone document this. I always call it the Fan Attack because I think that sounds cooler, but it's their company. Just picked up the Fanatic CWL. Very nice. Yeah, there's a lot of back orders right now, unfortunately. Toted them all, man. Good to see you. It's been a minute. Having a bad time drifting with the G920. Yeah, it's not the easiest. If you haven't already installed a LUT, gone down to like 540 degrees of rotation, we do have some settings to suggest in the Discord. And for anybody who is just tuning in that has a sim wheel and wants to drive, here is the information that you need to know. I'll try to drop that into the chat. Hopefully it will come in here shortly. I'm using a stream deck, and it always takes a few seconds for the first ones to come in. LUTs for days. Heck yeah, man. Hey, Daniel, how are you? CSW 2.5, same gear as me. You can have my exact settings if you want to. They're in the Discord. Hey, George, how are you? All right, so we're getting ready to get started. I want to take a second and show you guys the vehicle that we've got today. We are rocking an S13. We're going to have game audio come in here in just a second. We're running some new skins today. These skins were designed by a couple of people. We got Door Gang in here, we got Square Design, and the most recent, and what I'm personally running, is by one of my moderators who does some excellent skinning work. His name is Mocked, and just check this out. It's pretty rowdy. You'll see we've got a little KameTrick sticker down on the bottom left and on the windshield glass. All sorts of pretty wild brands, some carbon fiber showing up as well. And he's just done a really, really nice job, both with the exterior and the interior of this car, as we'll see. The little angry eyes. Just a unique look. It's got some sort of like Naruto quarter glass, stylized cloud designs and stuff as well. Very unique look. We'll come on board here, and you guys can check out a touch of the interior. You see that theme is carried in as well on the gauges. So just a really fun design. And we've got some of his other skins as well on the other cars on track. So if you're a regular for my streams, you'll be able to appreciate some of those new styles. All right, here we go. Find the Daniel, the link to enter in the server is located in the KT announcements channel. And my Discord server is linked in the description. My Stream Deck doesn't seem to be connecting at the moment, so that's unfortunate. But we're going to slide out here and do a couple of laps. And then, a surprise for those of you who are new here, I also have a POV set up with my triple monitors. So ultimately what you'll get to see is exactly what I see when I'm driving on my triple 32-inch monitor setup. Just gonna wait for a couple folks, see who's on track here. Is it worth waiting for a car? I mean, ask chat. I would think so, yeah. Shark Attack, I remember how to say your name. Welcome back, dude. Good to see you. We're gonna pull out here with Turbo and FV mods. Alright. And we are getting right into it. No warm-up whatsoever. Okay. A little bit too aggressive there. We go up to third on this transition. Got that a little tighter than I was thinking. What's up, Asian? It's going well. Happy here in the middle of the summer. I'll be roasting by the end of the stream. It does get hot in my room. But it is good times. Just a little tap there. Oh, very nice, very nice. Another little tap. A little bit more of a big bump there. Alright, so that's the gist of this map. I'm going to put you guys onto clips for just 1 second and switch over to the triple monitor POV because it's a pretty cool view, so hold tight. We do still have audio so I can chat at you guys while I do that, but I just don't think there's anything amusing to see here while I slide this GoPro onto my head. George with a great question. If you didn't get sick while using VR, would you still use triples? Probably not. VR is so much smaller that it's got a kind of an attractive form factor. Although I do like having extra monitors around because I can use them for productivity purposes as well. Chaos Garage, Mr. AZZ and everybody else, check the video description for instructions on how to join. Be happy to have you. Shark Attack, getting a job soon so I can get a better sim setup. Awesome, man. Join the crew. I work so my car can have a better life. Teleport to pits button doesn't work, you're probably stuck for this session and you'll have to roll without it. Alright, I'm going to see how well this is set up, make sure that we can see everything that we need to see. I guess we're pretty much okay. I can aim it up just a little bit. There we go. Alright. I don't need that anymore. Hey Purple, yeah, we've been running just one server for a while. Nobody ever joined the other servers as far as I can tell anyway. What's up, Paul? Cruisin says, all my money has been improving my setup. Dude, I hear you. That is 100%. How it be? Enrique, if you've already binded it, or bound it, as it were, you should probably just go bind it a few more times and restart. Sometimes Content Manager is a little weird about losing keybinds. And if you don't know where it is, it's under the, I think, patch section of where you can bind keys. Following the homie John DM. Not paying any attention to what I'm doing and driving well and truly off track there. And then following John a little bit off track as well. And that's okay. Yeah, I think a lot of people can get past the motion sickness, and some don't even have it at all. For me, it was pretty severe. I borrowed a set of, it was just a regular Oculus, so it wasn't perhaps the best set out there. Here's Holy Shoit. Probably catching a little bit of the stream curse there. For some reason, folks aren't always as steady when they're in front of me on a live stream. We'll catch up, but now I know what car to look for, so that makes my life a little easier. I do enjoy being able to drive with friends, viewers, and fans. It's always nice. Down the straight, off throttle, down to second, a little touch of brakes on that transition, and then ease a clutch kick out. Which I didn't really do that smoothly this time. To get us motivated down this straightaway. Chat while we're doing a little bit more driving, which is not the easiest. Mocked with the skins. Yeah, man, it looks good. Stuck on the S13 though. That is a bummer. I hate to hear that. Dang, yeah, I generally don't drive with gloves. Locking the horizon. Yeah, I did get to try that. Been using original Oculus Rift for a while now. Easier to play other games first too. Yeah, so I started out playing like Pirate Trainer and some of the way more like stationary turret style games, and those were fine. Didn't bother me at all. Just really enjoyable. But I tried taking like a stock Kunos Miata around a road course, and as soon as I did the first turn, I was just like, whoa, this does not feel heavy. And about 90 seconds later, I was laying on the floor and I didn't want to get up for the next like hour. Just completely wrecked. And I borrowed a set for about a month and tried a couple times a week and never got past about 120 seconds of lap time, and then I just wanted to die. So, I mean, everybody is different, but for me, unfortunately, it just did not seem like it was meant to be. Maybe I'll give it a try when like the Valve Index 2 comes out or whatever they invent, when it's like a bit later in the tech, and see if it doesn't bother me. Because I would love for it to work. It's definitely more immersive, even if the graphics are perhaps not as good. But your sense of speed, your sense of immersion is better. The form factor is way nicer because triple 32-inch monitors means that my monitor desk is like 6 feet wide, and it's pretty much the way I've got it set up presently, only usable for like sim drifting, which is fine, but I wish I could use those monitors for something else easily by having a little bit better desk setup. That I might could solve, but since I hand built all of my stuff, as you can probably tell, it's at least going to be a minute before I'm able to redo all that. Following the JZ. definitely agree, though. I think that triples is better as like a streamer, as a content creator. I think it looks pretty good. Like being able to do this view, if I couldn't do this view, it would be not all that useful. But this is a decent view for viewers. I think that it gets pretty close as far as watching it is concerned to triple monitors. And using it is really close to triples in my opinion for everything useful that I need to see. It's just that without like the binocular vision that VR gives you, you do have a little bit, oops, I'm driving poorly. You do have a little bit different sense of speed. That's a little bit worse. But having better comfort for long-term streaming, being able to make eye contact with my viewers, I think is valuable if you have a personality-based YouTube or like Twitch brand, which I do. If you have a faceless channel, then it doesn't matter, of course. Oh, recording VR doesn't work too well for content. I didn't even think about that. That doesn't surprise me, though, that it might be a little bit taxing. Now that I'm leading, go my style, and that's too fast. Yeah. I like to drift a lot faster than some people I follow do through that section. As good first wheel, my recommendations for drift specific wheels are in the video description. Follow a robot again and see if I can manage not to get the bump right away. Yeah, you can absolutely join if you can find a spot. The information you need to join is located in the video description. Big baller, what is up, dude? I actually have a video on exactly that question, which is a pretty common one. If you check through my channel, you will find a video on how to drift without spinning out, and that is what you want to watch. That'll teach you the essential mechanics of what is going on when you're sliding a car, and what you need to do, or the tools at your disposal to balance the car in drift. Because drifting is all about balance. It's not necessarily just about power. Your rear-wheel drive car, the wheels are trying to spin the car out when you are in drift. And if you do nothing with the steering, that's exactly what will happen. What you're trying to accomplish when you're drifting a car is find the balance between amount of throttle that wants to spin the car out and an amount of steering that resists that tendency and causes the car to go along in a turn while sliding around. Too much steering and you'll pull the car out of drift or make a transition and go in the other direction like this. And too much throttle without steering and you'll get into an angle stall where the car runs out of steering angle and you can't pull it back, or it'll snap into a spin if you have significantly too less steering. So all that we're really doing is using the controls in a very... If you're on a Logitech wheel, you may not be able to achieve that. However, you'll notice that, like, I'm steering the car with the throttle. It's all about that balance. So here, the wheel's just sliding through my hand because I'm off throttle, letting the car change directions. No steering input at all. We're all just balancing the car with throttle. That's basically what we're trying to accomplish. the gist. And this map, if you didn't know, is called Meteora Drift Park. It is an awesome map for some really solid tandems. One of my favorites. Big baller, thanks. The channel convinced me to get into sim drifting. Bought my first setup 2 days ago. Congrats, dude. That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, it's a wonderful world, you know. Drifting in real life is a hoot, but it's expensive, and while there's a lot of like things to celebrate about it, there's a lot of heartbreak too. You can have stuff happen where you go out to an event and you cut 2 laps, and on your 3rd lap, something breaks that ends your day, and you just dropped $100 on an entry fee, and it's like, and then you're, you know, hours away from your house, maybe hours away from a parts store, and sometimes you just hang out with your buddies, have a beer, pack up and go home, you know? So it's a mixed bag, but when you get into sim drifting, it is possible to have stuff break. I have broken a handbrake on stream before, but it's pretty rare. You know, usually your stuff is reliable. For one thing, the sim car never breaks. It doesn't overheat, you don't bend a tie rod, you don't get a bump that actually damages anything. So that alone makes sim content and sim drifting a very attractive option. If it weren't for the amount of experience, I guess, that I have drifting in real life and how fun all of my friends are to hang with, I would be very hard pressed not to just go full-time sim, because it's that fun and just stuff doesn't go wrong. You can never underestimate how nice it is to have stuff just not go wrong. Asian says car community in Ireland just exploded, so happy people are starting to show off their builds around Ireland. That's cool. Tyler, the server password is in Discord, and the Discord link is in the video description. Feel free to read and follow the instructions there. Got some new people joining the crew. Alright, what is up next, folks? I think we've still got a bit of time. We do a map change here in about 20 minutes. We'll do track change. Guess we're gonna roll back and get a few more tandems in here. I'm gonna switch back to POV for you, so hold tight on this clips menu for just 1 second. Initial D sound effect. Yeah, man. It's one that plenty of people recognize, but I always appreciate when somebody does recognize it. What's up? Stay crossing. So the clips that are on screen right now are all clips that I filmed, or like one of my buddies filmed who has a drone if I was driving. And they're all on my YouTube channel here in the library, but this car right here, this red 180SX or 240SX. I'm in the US, so it's a 240 that just did a jump drift. That is me, that is my car. That is the main car that I drift. Other cars that I have drifted include R32 Skyline GTSTs, what else? Nissan Laurel, 180SX, like actual at Ebisu. I don't think I've actually drifted an S... No, I have. I've drifted an S14. No rotaries yet, unfortunately. Single turbo JZ, 1JZ BBTIs, SRs, V8s, KAs. Not like everything out there, but all the S chassis. Have I drifted an SUV? I've drifted my truck. Actually, I have a YouTube video on drifting our trucks. It's also on the channel. That's a little sketch. That's something that we do in the rain. But I've absolutely done some truck drifting. Presently, my vehicle is a V8. Before that, it was a KA car. Got the whole crew ready to roll here. I feel like this is going to be violent. The way this game works too, depending on the map in the pits, there's no collision. So that's why we're like driving through each other. But here in a moment, all the cars will become hittable, basically, and then we'll have an interesting time. So I think I'm car, what, 5? I'm going to be as cautious as I can here, because there's a lot that can go wrong. And as a personal challenge, I'm going to see if I can make sure I'm not the guy that causes all the chaos. I'll let somebody hit me. One of my vices as a sim driver is that sometimes I get a little too relaxed knowing that it's a sim and that nothing actually will happen. So I push a little harder than I otherwise would. Up to third. Then we're going to coast our way down to second. A little e-brake there on the transition. Clutch kick out. Just try to match up our transition timing a little bit to the lead car. Jello there pushed wide. He decided to teleport out. So I'm just going to e-brake in to try and get a little bit of this gap closed. Alright, now we're coming up. Nicely stacked up there, but pulling a little bit too tight and getting kind of hamstrung. That's okay. It's always better to grip up and reinitiate than it is to ram into your buddies. Especially in real life. That was a little too close. Try and just drive up to them over the course of these manjis, and hopefully by the hairpin at the end of this straight, able to get back in formation a little bit. Yeah, that's not too bad. Good stuff. We've got Turbo in the lead, FB Mods in second, and a Robot in third with me over in fourth, and at least one car behind me as well. I haven't really bothered to look back. These are all guys that have been driving with me on these Matsuris for quite a while, and too much angle there and stalled it out. Angle stall, meaning the car went into a very, very slow spin. I went ahead and drove off track and then teleported out. And I just waited so that I would stay a little bit out of the threat range for that. But in any case, all these gentlemen have been driving with me for a while. Some were already really good before they entered the server. Some have gotten really good, not only for my bashes, of course, but just in the time that they've been practicing sim drifting. All of these guys, I'm sure if you gave them a car properly sorted in real life, such as mine, which if I had a bunch of extra cars I would totally do, but I'm sure if you gave these guys a car, they would be linking tracks pretty nicely within their first day, even if they had never even driven a manual car in real life before. I usually fill up lobbies. This is a event that I have been doing basically every Friday for 2 or 3 years, and so we've got a pretty big community that comes out, and it's not too hard to fill a lobby. said, hopefully, if you are new to my content, you'll be able to hop in and join. But I do this live stream basically every Friday at 9 p.m. or from about an hour ago until midnight. So it's a 3-hour stream. Half of it is here on YouTube. The other half is on twitch.tv/KameTrick. Got a little too much angle there. Had to lay off of it so I didn't spin, but had to give up all my car's speed as a result. I feel like tire wear's going to get to me. Or tire temperature, more likely. Probably need to drop some PSI out of the tires because they just get slippery. I'm using the default settings on these cars, which I tune my car in real life, but I just can't be bothered in the sim. Alright, Turbo has been drifting this R32 since the start of everybody going out on track. Let's see if I can get a couple of turns in with him. Listen to that throttle control. He's not pushing the car. He's just cruising. Exactly what it needs. Not too much of anything. That's kind of how I like to drive as well. I think we would get along if we had the chance to drive in real life together. Give him a little push there. Super chat, thank you, my man. Appreciate that. Recoils, what is up, man? Welcome to the stream. We're just enjoying a little Assetto Corsa tandem drifting. We're currently seeing exactly what I am seeing, thanks to a GoPro and a cam link mounted at the top on a big old head. Got out of sorts there. The grass is a little sketch, so I had to wait. Up to third. Of course, I'm not really driving my hardest because I'm busy trying to talk, entertain you guys, but this is pretty much the gist. And if you watch my IRL drifting footage, you'll see a pretty similar style as well, which is kind of cool. Everything translates really well to the simulator with the right hardware, with the right mod cars. Well, man, my day has been pretty solid. I am enjoying the summer. I was able to get a few things done around the house. I'm getting my car volt checked for an event next weekend, I believe it is. Road course where if I want to push it, I can do 100-mile-an-hour entries on some turn, probably somewhere. I don't know that I want to go quite that hard because I haven't driven the car hardly any since I put it back together most recently, and I've never driven this track before. It's got some like uphill transitions cresting a hill that are completely blind, which will probably be a little bit of the sketch, but I don't know, sounds fun. So doing that, enjoying the sim life, broadcasting, researching for my next YouTube upload. Trying to get caught up to turbo here. Look on the event. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. All the way up to FV Mods. He was second and third in our train for a while there. So now he's taking the lead. Probably on fresh tires, which is going to make or Turbo and me have to get a little bit creative some of the time, I bet. But we'll see. Feathering the brake to cause the nose of the car to come around. If I don't transition perfectly on the lead car to the same amount of angle that they have, then I can stay on throttle and then breathe onto the foot brake with my left foot. Oh, that was too much. Breathe onto the foot brake with my left foot and then basically slowly pull the car into more angle so that we can match up with everybody. Pause that because that's distracting. And put you guys onto clips here for a second while I lose this GoPro again. Seth, about to get back into the whip with a new T300. Very nice. Going from a Driving Force GT to a T300 is going to be like going from a Toyota Tercel on cafeteria trays to a Pro Spec car. You're going to enjoy it quite a bit. Big Baller, I do have a Discord. We got, I don't know, 9,000 members in there. It's going decently. It's located or linked in the video description. Recoil also, saving for a wheel. Hey, right on, dude. Well, thank you for tuning in, even if it was just for a minute. I appreciate it, and I hope you had a good time. I do this every Friday, so we'll have a chance to hang out again, I'm sure. XXYV そうですよ。日本語はまあ完璧ではないんですけど、通じるくらいの力はあると思うんです。Yes, I do speak a bit of Japanese. I don't think that I'm not a native speaker by any means, but I have been studying the language for a long time. I used to live in Japan as well, and I can get by. Mason running a T150 Pro, and it is super slow. Yeah, man. I can imagine. So what's up, Dane? You heading out, man? All right, we'll see you around. Oh, you were saying later to recoil. My bad. Got a little distracted there. Purple finally got into a car. Very good. Of course, you know how this works out. You finally get into a car and it'll be map change in a couple of minutes probably. We're going to be transitioning over from Meteora, where we have been here, to our next map, which is Forest Park. Soon-ish. Unfortunately, we do about 45 to 60-minute sessions, depending on how frequently I remember what time it is. But hopefully, now that you know the server password and everything for this server, you will be all set to join in quickly, because you're all logged up in the Discord. Oh man, how's everybody doing? Hope you guys are having a great start to your weekend. Do not forget to hit that like button if you have a moment. It really does help the stream out, and I greatly appreciate it when you do. First time getting the game. Right on. Well, we are doing it every Friday, so hopefully there will be many more opportunities. Unfortunately, we are getting ready to do track change, so everybody who is in the Discord, hop over to that KT Announcements channel, and fairly soon we will be able to drop the new password in. Just gotta get joined in, make sure that everything is working, because you know how it is. Occasionally Assetto Corsa decides that my keybinds should just get forgotten. Alright, let's see how this works. Thank you for joining the crew, guys. Everything loads in. Do I watch Jimmy? I do. I don't like religiously watch his content, but it's not just him. I try to watch YouTube content. I do think that watching YouTube can make you a better content creator, but I struggle to keep up with all the different car channels, both sim and IRL, that I could. So a lot of times what ends up happening is I split my attention, and I'll watch like 1 or 2 videos a month from everybody. So there's a lot of stuff that I miss, I'm sure. I'm gonna lower my tire pressure in the rear. So these cars default to 30 PSI front and 27 rear, and I'm gonna try to go down to 24 rear and just see what that does. It's probably not gonna do that much. But hopefully once the tires heat up and they get a lot more slippery, I'll find the car is a bit easier to drive. Because I'm so good at driving the car with like the stock tire temperature that once it gets crazy hot, it becomes a bit of a problem for me. It's personal, like driving. I don't know if I want to call it a flaw. I was gonna call it a flaw, but to be honest, in real life, that's not a thing. Like, if you do more than about 6 laps, your tires start to wear pretty quick, and or your car starts to overheat when you have the car build that I do. So I just don't have to experience driving on super overheated tires because they just pop or, you know, wear away, and then you have to pit. All right, let's get out on track. Password is dropped into the Discord server. Pixie, what is up? Drift with no force feedback challenge. That sounds miserable. I wouldn't do that in real life, and I don't see the point of doing that in a sim. That's not at all enjoyable, and it, to me, defeats the purpose of drifting because it's not how physics works. But for me, everything that I do is based on like real life and how that translates over to sim. I'm sure I'll end up playing a game though at some point that either has miserable force feedback or none whatsoever. In fact, when I did Drift 21 original beta, like the very first beta, its force feedback was pretty much non-existent. I haven't tried it since they've released it. Congrats to the Drift 21 team on that. But yeah, it doesn't go well for me. I'm very acclimated to how actual steering geometry on real cars works, and I don't adapt well to anything that just wouldn't happen in real life. Asian says, you probably know that he recently became a real racing driver with Praga and Britcar. Cool, he can go from sim to IRL. Yeah, absolutely. And I think especially for folks that are over, well, that are outside of America probably, I bet it's a lot harder to get into motorsports in the first place. It just seems like stuff is more expensive, a lot of times more heavily regulated. Here in my country anyway, we have like a pretty big mix. Some states, it's whatever you want to do. As long as you have like a headlight on the car, you can go around driving drift cars on the street, which like mine can do. It's got, you know, turn signals, it's got working windshield wipers, it's got working headlights. You would be surprised that it's a drift car when you see it on the street, other than it looks a little funky. But yeah, it's a nice thing to be able to do in real life. It's pretty fun. How was drifting with Goosiest? I don't think I've gotten to drift with Goosiest yet. I'm seeing some checksums come up. I'm hoping that everybody else was able to get in. It's part of why I haven't started broadcasting yet. I don't understand why there would be a checksum on Forest Park. It's an ancient track. Okay, it's just certain people. Okay, that's got to be a car issue where they're running a like Tandem Buddies physics on their WDTS car or something else weird. Alright, well, could be worse, but sorry. Always hate to see people getting disconnects. At least I know it's not on my side. So Dane, yeah, I don't think I've actually drifted with Goosiest yet. I've drifted with G2 Fast, I've drifted with C Toretto and Shifter. And the last like big YouTuber group session that I arranged, I invited Goosiest, and at the time he hadn't gotten much Assetto practice in yet, and so he said he wanted to wait until a future one. And I don't think we've managed to link up yet, aside from that. Augusto, how about not on my stream? maybe some other time. I actually run Shuto highway driving cruises and stuff as well. No man, it's all good. Just kind of like, it sounds a bit like you're poaching my stream, and I'm not really into that. Mocked, it still gets stuck on it, like it's loading and sits forever. Okay, that's a bummer. I don't understand what's up with that DWGS13 then. Inspired you to drift. Awesome, dude. Yeah, it's a good time. Pixie asked if I've seen a Bosozoku car. Yeah, absolutely. I have seen a few. I think they look pretty rad. I was actually kind of into like Boso culture when I was living in Japan. Not like I was into it, like I was interested in it. I was not a part of a Boso gang. Oh, I got you, man. Well, Augusto, we do run SRP every couple of weeks during one of these streams, so there will definitely be a chance to do that. And of course, the official SRP servers are probably hopping as well. I imagine they're usually hopping. They have like 6 and 100,000 people in their Discord. What's up, Boxes? そうですよ。まあ完璧なレベルじゃないんですけど、日本語はちょっとだけできます。All right, we're back. We're gonna take it to our non-POV view here for a minute. We're back in the same car. I just think this car looks so rowdy. It's very cool. I would join in your Discord and play along someday. Yeah, by all means, please do. You probably have already discovered this, but the Discord link is in the video description. So come on down, and I'll post up when we are, like, in the announcements channel. I post what we're doing every week. I'm just kind of picking at random. What's up, Master Boy? How's it going? I'm stoned. What up? Just chilling, such as a villain. I don't know if I've even turned the turbo off on this car yet, which for this track is probably going to reveal itself. It's slippery. Lost it there. But I mean, first lap on this track, with a different setting, certainly possible to mess up. We'll laps, and then we'll switch over to the POV camera. Yeah, like that was too much rotation. It would have been a lot smoother not to do that. This map is Forest Park. And of course, there's nothing for it there. I don't know what I'm doing. Just kind of goofing around. Have I ever tried the Tsujigiri car pack? So that car pack came across my radar just last week. I hadn't heard of it before. I have not tried it. I'm not into pro cars. I don't find them enjoyable. I certainly don't have any experience driving cars over 350 wheel in real life. But just in general, like really gripped up competition cars don't do it for me. I like stuff that floats and flows and isn't like a kill mode on-off switch type thing. It looks cool though. Can I add these drift mods on any map? Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you're familiar with Assetto Corsa modding. I mean, I would assume you are if you were talking about SRP a second ago. But yeah, you can run any mod car on any mod map or the default maps as well. Essentially, if it works on one, it'll work on all. I actually run these cars on Shuto sometimes, as well as like LA Canyons. I'm going to do High Force at some point. Haven't done High Force yet. And some rally maps as well. But mostly like Toge and circuits are where we tend to drift these cars. My daily at the moment is a truck, which is my tow vehicle for the drift car. That's kind of what you end up with a lot of the times. It's like, if you get too serious into drifting, you end up having a drift car that you don't really want to drive around too much, even if it is street legal. Just because it will, too much, I'm sorry, Reese. Will inevitably break at some of it because of how hard you drive, and then you'll be stuck unless you have a trailer. And so then, because you have a trailer, you have to get a truck to tow the car around. Before I got all that far into it, before I got my truck, I had a EF Civic from 1989, Civic SI. It's back before the Civics had VTEC. Very enjoyable little car. I miss it a lot. Pretty happy with how the car is performing. I think it's time to roll over to POV view for you guys. Something a little different. Something different to look at here. So we're going to roll into clips. For just a moment. Let me get that GoPro all sorted out. Mocked got in. Awesome, man. Very good, very good. Who's shooting in the back? Oh, I'm not sure. Did not notice anything. I'm definitely catching up to, or was catching up to that lead car. Just a little bit. Killian asks, can I put the pedals level and Assetto on screen? Probably can do that for you. gotta figure out roughly where that is in my encoder, so give me a moment. I'll do it this way. Alright, pull up the encoder here. So, oh, it's way the heck over here. Is that... Well, it won't matter when I'm on this screen because you won't be able to see it. I mean, I can slide it over here, but it's gonna it won't even matter. I'll have to do it on the other screen. When I'm doing this view, it's not gonna be informative for you. Finally loaded in the DWG S13, but think I'd check something on the Supra. Man, I don't know what's up with those DWG cars. I haven't updated my copy of them since I first downloaded them. Heading out for now, Dane. Right on, dude. Well, we'll see you on Twitch if nothing else. Let's see how long we got until Twitch. 9:59. Okay, we got a proper 45 minutes. It's not really been that long. I don't know where my mind is at thinking it's been a minute. Okay, we're gonna... Man, there's some beautiful tandems going on here. As fun as it would be, this is also the nice thing about triples, is you can like literally see people coming out. I'm just gonna let these guys go past though, because I probably have dirt and crap on the tires. Never did turn up the turbo, we're gonna do that now. Up pretty regular as far as triples versus VR. I personally think that VR is probably superior to triples, specifically for drifting. It doesn't really cost any more. It may even cost less because good triples are pretty expensive. We've got a controller player that looks like they're necessarily one of the rare super good controller players. More common variety for Assetto, which is not a controller-friendly game, unfortunately. But anyway, yeah, I think that VR is probably superior. The binocular vision that you get, like you get some actual 3D depth perception, you get superior speed sensing. It's very immersive. Triples are really good though. Like if you get a nice set of 1440p 32-inch triple monitors like I have, I mean, they are legit. No doubt about it. Holy shit, so probably I will drift on Twitch, but I'm gonna start out practicing the track the way I often practice tracks, which is with some grip laps, because instead of like needing to just go drift this random sim track and crash as many times as I need to actually memorize this track layout more than anything, and the best way to do that in my opinion is to drive it in like a Meteora and just grip it. Wow, that is so slippery. Played on controller for 1 minute and it did not work out, bro. I hear you. Standalone pedal sets for $100. I don't know of any. Granted, I'm not really in the business of like, I'm not one of the guys that researches tech that I don't intend to buy. So like, unless I'm about to buy a standalone pedal kit, I would probably never have a great answer for that question. pedals. I just don't have any idea how much they cost. I would imagine that it's more than $100, unfortunately. Sport CSW like 2.5. My actual wheel is a like up garage Meteora paint special that is unidentified, but if you Google search for Meteora wheel periodically, you will find evidence of ones being for sale. I don't know the brand. That said, it would be really easy, not cheap probably, to have one custom made by wherever one of your local wheel companies are. You probably can't really tell from my stream cam. Couple water. What's up, Madison? We are at Forest Park. This track is essentially Drift Playground, but faster, wider, and flat. But it's the same shape. Just zoomed up. Gosh, my tires are getting so slippery. It's giving me a lot of trouble. Because this is not something that would happen outside of the simulator. Like, I can't just do laps on laps on laps. I would run out of engine coolant first, and then I would run out of tires second. Somewhere around here, I'd also run out of gas. So the tires get as hot as the game's physics know how to handle, basically. And I just never practice continuing to drive on them because, again, I try not to practice stuff that isn't, like, going to happen to me in real life. All of my objectives are really centered around stuff that I'm going to take into my real life drifting. But I'm going to try and get past that. Little bit just while I'm here. Hey Jeremiah, how are you, dude? How expensive is one drift weekend? Holy shit, great question. So it depends first and foremost on the kind of car that you run. And there's a huge spectrum here. If you're running like a stock BMW E36 or something like that, you can go a whole day on one set of tires, no worries. I would still recommend buying new tires. So let's say $200 in tires and another $100 in entry fee, food, and some gasoline if you street drive your car. So I mean, you know, $300. If you want to buy used tires, it could be less. Although I think at that point you ultimately end up trading money for time because the used tires will go out faster and you end up having to spend more time on tire changes and wheel changes, which is like, yeah, it's less dollars, but if you go to an event and you get 30 less laps or something because you were changing your tires and people come over to chat while you're doing it and you get distracted or whatever, like, is that really better than just spending an extra $100 and having tires that'll last you the whole day? So, you know, for kind of slower cars, you can get a lot of laps on one set of tires. Some people even get 2 events on them. Then, if you have like 300 wheel or something like that, which is more like my car, I can still get, well, that's Walt, I can still get 30 or so laps out of a set of tires. Some tracks I can get 40, some tracks I can only get 20. Just depends. Hot lap tracks tend to be a little bit more aggressive because I'll forget and do like 6 or 8 laps in a row. And that's when the car overheats. So I have to pit anyway, keeping the tires a bit cooler. But for me, I'll use like a set and a half of tires. So I'll bring 2 completely new sets to an event, finish up having worn down the first set, so there goes, you know, $220 or something. And halfway worn through the second set. And then the next event, I'll use up those and one other full set of tires. So it really is, you know, around $100 plus the cost of however many tires you're going to go through. If you got somebody who's rocking a, you know, 500-600 wheel horsepower car, they can go through 8 sets of tires in a day, and it becomes like a money-burning furnace. It's ridiculous what some of those cars do. What is up, dude? Thank you for stopping in. We're just enjoying a little cruising on Forest Park and at the World Drift Tour, or World Drift Tour Street Pack 180SX, which is a car that is near and dear to my heart because I also drive a S13 hatch in real life. Like, hey, thank you. Try to get out to that wall, transfer as late as we can, and braked too much. Understeered over bed somehow. That was strange. Left foot brake and why? Oh man, lots of potential times that you would do that. I guess you can start out with solo driving. Solo driving, I don't left foot brake much at all. The typical reason is to be able to stay on throttle and control your car's proximity to an outside zone or a wall. I can do this whole track without left foot braking. Want to, but there are a few places that I will. So we'll drive over to the wall first of all. I may not actually do a whole ride depending on where I'm at, but I can demonstrate. So we got a wall coming up right over here. So if we do our transition or whatever, don't be too close, and we end up near to the wall, then the left foot braking can control the car's distance so that you can stay on throttle and the car will step out in the general direction of the wall without going any farther. It causes the nose to tuck in slightly towards the inside. So that is one time that you would do it, which I failed to demonstrate, but you get the idea. The other time that you can do it as a solo driver that can be helpful is you can use it to very minutely add angle to the car without using the steering wheel. And I'll do that on some of these turns up here occasionally. So if I come around and my angle transition's a little shallow, I can step on the brake and see it pull the car around a little bit. It makes it pivot on the front tires. And it also slows it down, which can be handy. I was doing this wall ride until the lead car got messed up, and that was kind of handy. So that's the gist for solo driving. Some people rely on it a lot more to do that little pivot deal that I showed. I don't a whole lot, because most of the time I just transition to the right amount of angle. But I have a harder time doing that in the simulator where I can't really feel what's going on with the car as well as you can in real life, because you're missing out on a lot of G-force information. So I do it more in the simulator. Another, or the more common reason after that is for tandem specifically. And of course I've got to catch up to somebody in order to be able to use it. But when you are tandeming or trying to learn how to tandem, you'll reach a point where you can't keep up with the lead cars. And then eventually, you can keep up with the lead cars and you start to drive into them. Not in the cool way, but you're oh, I don't know what to do. I'm either going to have to grip up and quit drifting, or I'm gonna drive into the side of this guy and like we're gonna crash. Speaking of crash, I'm gonna wait for someone to follow so I can demonstrate this crap. Dark Pigeon, thank you for helping out in chat. We'll try to follow Bram Burglar here. I don't know if I've driven with him a whole lot. Alright, so here we go. So like, I'm at a point now where I'm not gonna left foot brake, but I'm keeping up with him, and I'm having to get off throttle a whole lot to keep from driving into him. See, I'm just using my right foot to handle our proximity, and it's going okay. Now, if I had a turbo car in real life, and it took a minute for the turbo to spool up, this could be causing me some problems if I get to where the turbo bogs. Additionally, I could be using the e-brake to do some of this. You know, there's no reason you can't e-brake behind a car. Ended up wiping pretty hard. Gay, the password is also in KT announcements in the Discord server, and it will not be typed into the public live stream chat. So, where you got all the other stuff is where you need to get that as well. So, I'm giving the full answer here on the whole left foot braking scenario. But generally, you'll reach a point where you need to stay in drift, and to do that, you generally need to be applying throttle. But you're also going to need to slow down while still drifting. Oops, that was peculiar. So left foot brake in tandem comes in. Because left foot brake will basically let the car stay sideways, stay in drift, but let the car slow down. And you can't really do that any other way. You can let off the throttle some and coast the car for a certain amount of time. You can use the minimum amount of throttle to hold the car at its angle, and it will accelerate the least, but it still accelerates. You can e-brake, or you can come fully off throttle, but that's like completely killing all the car's forward momentum. So, the thing that left foot braking lets you do is balance the car in drift, but still slow down without ever falling out of drift. Like, you can left foot brake your way down into a rolling burnout, which is pretty cool. You don't really see people do it much, but occasionally I'll see somebody do it that's just goofing around, and you can hold angle the entire time. You'll be going from like 30 miles or 40 miles an hour and go down to going like 8 miles an hour, and the car is still at angle, it's still technically drifting, even though it's, you know, going walking speed. And that's not something you can do with any other technique. That's an extreme example, but the point is that when you are tandeming behind somebody, you're going to need to slow the car down, control its speed in a fine manner, especially if you have a turbo car, which I don't, but still it's a handy technique regardless of the engine type. There's times where you want to be able to slow the car down, control its angle, keep it in drift. Left foot brake can do all those things as long as you have a trustworthy lead driver that's not going to wipe. One problem I have with left foot brake, me personally, like as a driver that I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to fall at on, is in transition, I don't really like to trust left foot brake, so what I personally do is I hover over e-brake on transition. So like here, if I thought I would have to decel, I would be ready on e-brake, and as soon as the car finishes the transition and I see that the lead car has completed the drift and it's not screwed up the transition, they're not going to spin or angle stall. And as soon as I know that I have as well, once everybody's like stable in drift, then I'll go ahead and hover over the left foot brake with my foot. The left foot brake lets you do this fairly decent proximity stuff here, and you probably couldn't do it any other way. I can do a lot with just throttle, but when I get close, so to speak, it's always going to be e-brake for the transition and then left foot brake. And even though my hands don't come off the wheel, you can tell because my foot hovers over the clutch, which is where I need to be to e-brake. And then as soon as you see my foot scoot back over to the brake, that's because I feel like we're safe. But I can edge up now with a lot of confidence because I can slow the car down and stay in drift. Up to third we go. These are close to the wall. We tapped it. Too much angle. Chase's car was not prepared to slow down for me. So a tiny mistake on my part. It could have been avoidable, but was not. That took me out. Roadhouse, thank you, man. Yeah, the tandem is going pretty good there. I was just in the zone, so I had to look away from chat for a little bit. Alex, yeah, man, it's my pleasure. That is what I do. Oops, that was neutral there. I actually do like driver instruction at drift events and drift schools as well, and do that in the simulator too. So always happy to talk shop, and also always happy to talk shop with people that are better drifters than me when I get access to them. Because you got to have a beginner's mind. You got to learn as much as you can. And what's the point in trying to teach if you're not also trying to learn, in my opinion? So like that's why I keep mentioning my progress and my thoughts on the left foot brake versus e-brake and transition thing. I feel like there's probably a better driver technique that could overcome what I perceive to be a limitation there. But I personally haven't discovered a way that I feel confident doing that in my real car. Now in the simulator, yeah, I can, like there I did all of that while riding with just throttle, but you could have left foot braked it too. I thought I was going to get wall, so I kind of gave up on driving. In sim, I could do all of this with my left foot brake, but in real life, really would I trust my car to my ability to bail on left foot brake? Probably not. So there you go. The car has slow self-steer. How can you make it fast other than just throwing the wheel? In real life, fix your power steering system and fix your caster. Generally, a car will have slow self-steer because the alignment is not very good for drifting. Some cars are better than others, like S chassis and BMW E chassis have really good self-steer from the factory. It's pretty adequate. Some of the new-ish Mustangs don't have the best self-steer from the factory until you put some arms on them and stuff. That guy's weird. I don't know about that. Either around me or I know about one of the two. Couple again, we'll just off sled it. No more eye roll. I'm sorry, Nate. Or sorry for whoever that was. I'm gonna take a break. I'm not driving as focused. It's really hard to balance actively switching between paying like 50% attention to what I'm doing and talking, or paying like 10% attention to what I'm doing while I read chat and still talk. Night Fortuitous. No more IRL car drift talk on the server. On the Discord? No, so there is. Most likely what you need to do is scroll up to the ping to everyone in announcements. You probably have that turned off and that's fine. But I updated the onboarding process because we were getting some bot spam, and essentially required I roll gated the content behind a couple of roles that you probably would have had if you read the Start Here channels and like the rules and everything, but most likely you're going to need to go into the Start Here section and just go through the channels in there, make sure that you have assigned the roles. There's 2 or 3 different channels where you can do a role react and get notifications or opt out of them. Make sure you agree to the rules in the server and click the role react there as well, and that will unlock all the content for you. Yeah, this change I made like 4 days ago, so just double check all those things. But otherwise, I mean, it's been working fine for basically everybody. I've gotten 1 or 2 DMs, but they were all for people who, when they came in, basically ignored all that, didn't read the rules, or if they did, they didn't hit the role react, and then they got locked out, even though they normally wouldn't have. But that'd be my suggestion. Now, here's a good question from I Stay Crossing. Can you describe how a clutch kick works? Man, yeah, that's a fun question, actually. I'd be happy to talk through that one. So in a nutshell, when you are driving a manual transmission car, I'm gonna close that music out, or that game background sound out. When you're driving a manual transmission car, the engine and the rear wheels are not connected to each other unless the clutch is engaged, and it's a mechanical connection. There's essentially a humongous pad on the back of the engine and a humongous brake pad on the start of the transmission, and the clutch pedal will pull those apart. So when you push the pedal down, they come apart. When you release the pedal, they come back together. What this enables you to do is spin the engine up faster than the rear wheels are spinning by having full throttle down with your right foot and depressing the clutch with your left foot. You don't have to do the kick motion to see this, but essentially they're connected, and if you full throttle, the engine's just going to go at whatever speed, and so will the rear wheels, and like, you know, you do a highway pull, the car accelerates, and that's that. If you, in the middle of a highway pull, for example, if you push the clutch in and the engine has some RPM left to where it can continue to gain revs, the engine's going to be released of the burden of the entire weight of the car. It's going to lose, 2,000 pounds or something that it's trying to accelerate. And in a heartbeat, it's just going to go whop and get up to the red line or very close to it. And then, when it's got all of that like kinetic energy built up, you can release the clutch rapidly. And when you do, it's going to push the transmission and the rear wheels effectively, reconnect those back to the engine, and all of that power has to go somewhere, and one of a few things will happen. If you're unlucky, some mechanical part will break. Your clutch will fly apart, your transmission will break, a half shaft at the back will break, your welded differential will rip apart. If you have your more normal experience, which this is far more common, traction is what will break, and the rear wheels will start spinning faster than they're actually moving on the ground, which either puts you into like a burnout if you're going in a straight line, or a drift if you have also juked the wheel, or if the car was already cornering and has some like side force leaning it, it's going to slip it into that drift. So that's kind of what's happening, the physics behind a clutch kick. Good question. Tyler Rozo, why does my wheel shake on Assetto? It could be any number of things. Certain maps that are really big, like Mega Tomata or Shuto Revival Project and a few others, the wheel will shake a little bit in certain sections no matter what. It's just a function of Assetto not being designed for enormous free roam maps. If it's on tiny circuits like the one that we're on here, Forest Park, it is probably something in your force feedback settings that you need to check. I don't have all those possibilities for every possible wheel memorized, nor have you shared what wheel you're on, so what I recommend there is go into my Discord, check the settings dash, and it'll either be Logitech, Fanatec, or Thrustmaster channel. Try out the settings listed there. If you still have the problem, then post up in my AC help channel and let the community help you out with that. What is blipping the gas on a downshift? That would be a rev matching technique. So that's easier to just demonstrate in the game. I'll hop back in game here. another fun technique question for us. All right. So you can see my my RPMs there. And if we just do some normal people driving, like the wheel does shake even for me on this part of the map, but it only shakes right here. It's something about how the map designers built it. Let's see if this guy chases this crew or if he's just AFK. Looks like he's just sitting there. So each gear has an engine speed that the engine spins at any given mile per hour. So like right now we're at about 4,000 RPM, 3,000 RPM at this amount of cornering. And when I go up a gear, then it's going to lower the RPM even more for the same speed. So when you downshift, if you don't make the adjustment, the rear wheels are going to, because of how the gearing works, lower gears, like, how should I say this? Here's a good way to say it. 25 miles an hour in first gear is past the red line. It can't do it in most cars. 25 miles an hour in second gear is about where you should be shifting. 25 miles an hour in third gear is like as low as it'll go and still have any amount of torque. 25 miles an hour in fourth and fifth gear is going to be like bogging. It's too slow for the motor. And so what that means is when you shift gears at whatever speed you're going at that moment in time, the engine's RPM is going to change depending on which gear you're in. Like it's always 25 miles an hour, but if I shift from fourth gear down to second gear, my RPMs are going to jump up as soon as I release the clutch in second gear. And if you just release the clutch and you let the RPMs stay where they were, it's going to do the opposite of a clutch kick. It's essentially going to do a clutch e-brake, and it's going to apply a lot of braking force. It could lock up the rear wheels. It could stress your drivetrain components. It's literally like doing an e-brake pull, but with the clutch, putting all the pressure instead of on the braking system for the rear, which is designed to do that, on the transmission and on the drive system for the car. It's not going to cause that much damage if it happens once, but if you do it all the time, just like clutch kicking, you do need to make sure that you've strengthened some of your components or that your car was just good from the start. Some cars are stronger than others in the drivetrain category. So the point for all of that is when you are downshifting, you can flip the throttle to move the RPM. So like if I was in fourth and my throttle was here at this speed at 2,500-ish RPMs, and I knew that it was going to end up way up here when I went into second gear, if I just let out the clutch, of course it's just going to become a big problem. But if I blip the throttle up to around there, and then I let out the clutch, it's going to be nice and smooth. So that's the entire point of blipping the throttle. It just makes the car go into gear easier. It keeps the car from getting unsettled. It prevents you from doing essentially a big e-brake drag on the vehicle. And then that even more ties into heel-toe downshifting, which is not really a drifting technique, but it's more of a grip racing technique. But the same applies. Like the example I was just giving assumes that your car is actually going the same speed the entire time. If you're actively slowing down real hard on the foot brake, trying to get around a turn, and you're doing like time attack, it makes it even more noticeable. You know, the RPMs are going to jump hugely when I slow down from fourth gear going 55 miles an hour to 25 miles an hour and shift into second gear. So, if I'm in third, if I'm in fourth even, yeah, people are going to be pissed that I'm not trying to drift right now. So they're wondering what I'm up to because I'm talking through this technique. If I was in fourth, and I can't go fast enough to really demonstrate it too well, probably at the end of this straight I have a chance to do it. So we'll build up some speed, and you can flip the throttle with your foot. Again, to give it that throttle blip, but also do it while you're slowing the car down, which is kind of a cool technique. So what's up? Just like to say thank you for all your advice. I finally figured out how to drive WDT cars on a stock G920. Yeah, man, way to go. Congratulations. That's hard. I don't know that I would be able to. I know that it can be done, but I'm spoiled by the way that my real car and this wheel work. But more power to you, dude. That's awesome. Stay crossed and tips are top tier. Thank you. I've got a lot of drifting experience, and one thing I've learned over my life is that not everybody who's good at something is good at explaining it. Granted, a lot of times people that are good at explaining stuff aren't always that good at actually doing the thing. They say if you can't do, teach. In my case, I kind of can do both. Like, I'm a pretty good communicator and I'm a decent drifter. I don't really want to go pro. I'm not good enough to go pro. I'm not going to put in the money in practice at this point. It's just, the builds are so crazy. However, you know, I've got over 15 years of drifting experience, both in real life, and then I pull that into the simulator, and now that I've gotten everything tied in and I'm acclimated to the simulator too, I can generally give some pretty solid examples and discussions. So that's the main thing that my channel is about, really, is, you know, how to enjoy drifting, whether it's real life and budgeting and cartooning, whether it's in the simulator and you're learning how to mod Assetto Corsa, and of course the actual act of balancing the car and drift. That's me, that's my channel. You'll probably find that real life drifting is way easier than you think it's going to be. The hardest thing, in my opinion, about IRL drifting is, for a sim guy, is the fact that in the simulator you're used to being able to hop into like a pro car that's perfectly sorted, just like that. Or even these WDT Street cars, which are like relatively humble cars. These are not simple to build. They're not hard, but like it takes time, it takes money, and a lot of times, unless like you're middle-aged and have a nice paying job and good financial stability and no debt, like, you'll get great on the simulator, and then all you'll be able to buy is like a terrible missile car that makes no horsepower and is like unreliable. Which is the opposite of drifting a simulator, where we've got excellent cars that make pretty strong power. You know, 300 wheel plus is awesome, whether it's 1,000 or 300 like these cars. And they never break, and they are aligned properly, and, you know, they're just set up great. And then when you go to drift in real life, you're going to be like, well, the actual mechanics of drifting, I totally understand. However, I've got this, frankly, shitbox car that breaks every other event, and I can barely get much seat time in it, and, like, I don't have any money to get a better car. Like, that's the hard part. To me, it's kind of awkward to think about this, but I feel like the hardest part about drifting in real life is not the driving. It's the finances, it's the tuning, it's all of the time spent in between the driving that actually makes real life drifting hard. Not that I'm saying it's easy. I mean, I am over here like talking and reading chat, and I'm doing fine and going around this track. So like, you can certainly get to where you can make it look pretty easy, but really it's there's a lot more puzzle pieces at play than just the driving, and I feel like in the simulator it can become about just the driving as I overdo it and yeet into the wall. In that boat, gotta work it now, right on. Underglow Muffin Man is tied to the lights on the car, so if you turn the car's headlights on and that particular skin has an underglow kit, it'll come on. Not all of them do, it depends on the skin that you have. Same with any motorsports crash, yeah, absolutely. But I understand between YouTube analytics and comments from my community and everything that the vast majority of my viewers don't drive in real life or don't do motorsports in real life, so like, somebody's got to tell them, and I don't want them to get like super discouraged when, you know, they're like these expert 1,000-hour sim drifters, and then they go to drift in real life or other motorsports in real life and just get really down on themselves because they didn't see this coming. Like, I can't change it. It's still a reality. And even for me, would I like to have a better car? Like, would I try to go pro? Would I have tried to go pro 15 years ago? If I had more money? Yeah, absolutely. But same thing, you know? I got interested in drifting, I tried it, I loved it, and then I realized, like, well, I've got a KA with 130 wheel horsepower. There's no way I'm going to be able to link most tracks. I can't possibly get good enough. I can't afford it. So, you know, here we are, still enjoying drifting, having a great time. I just took 5 years, 10 years to build a car up. It happens. Eat. Just got into IRL drifting. Right on, dude. I'm going to an event next weekend. Yeah, it's just cars are expensive. That's one of the things that, as an IRL guy, I really enjoy sim, because I could not afford to have a drift life where I drive every weekend, especially not for 3 hours straight, basically. IRL tracks that I drift on. So I roll. I drift in tracks in Oklahoma, Texas, Kansas, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, Ebisu. I feel like I'm leaving a few out, but most of the time I'm in Oklahoma and Texas. I've barely even priced out IRL stuff recently. I know tires are up like 20%, or at least 10, but I'd estimate 15 to 20% because the U.S. government back under the previous administration put a huge tariff on Southeast Asia tire manufacturing, and so that has caused a lot of supply and demand issues on top of COVID supply and demand issues. So tires right now are pretty high. I used to pay around $100 a tire, and I think I'm paying closer to $130 a tire now. So that's a bummer. But I mean, it's what I always tell people. Like when a young person comes up to me at a drift event, they're like, "This is so cool, I want to get into it." I tell them in a nice way, but I'm like, don't, because if you try it and if you get hooked and you become somebody like me who can't not do it, it's like, it's really fun, but man, it's not the best use of your finances if you really think about it. So I always kind of caution people, like, only get into this if it pulls you in hook, line, and sinker and you can't not do it. But if you're remotely into it for like the cloud or the Instagram photos or whatever like that, like, it's not gonna be a fun time. Chris B, what's up? Just bought a Z, leaving my S13 it is for now. Right on. Muffin Man is doing an RX-8 with a 1J. Ooh. The RX-8 has a really nice suspension, so that'll be an asset to you once you get all that powertrain side of things working out. It's also a pretty light car for how new it is, so that's a good call once you have it going. Stay crossing. What places to drift in Texas? They have various ones, and we've lost a few venues over the past 3 or 4 years, but Texas Motor Speedway, the actual road course, they have drift events at it. Gulf Greyhound Park, I think we're still doing events down there in Houston/Austin area. The Houston Police Academy has events. Basically, there's a couple event organizers you want to look up. Lone Star Drift, maybe it's called Knuckle Up, Club Loose, and Novice Garage. Those are 4, just off the top of my head, event organizers in Texas that hold events. And so if you go to their websites or Facebook pages or like Google search it until you find them, you'll be able to see what's up in your, well, not in your area, but in the parts of Texas that have drifting. Essentially, you've got Dallas-Fort Worth has some drifting, Houston and Austin have some drifting. Outside of that, I don't know if there's a whole lot. Coda does have a couple of drift events, that's true. Sync, I custom built my wheel stand out of wood. I have a video on it. Muffin Man says it's done, ready to go. Just waiting on the next event. Oh, right on. VIR. Okay. I've been out to Shenandoah Speedway for Low Style Heroes in 2017, so that might be a point that we have in common. I used to live in Virginia when I was a kid. I've not been out that way aside from like 1 or 2 events in a long time. VIR would be cool though. Who does those events? Quick Style Motorsports? I feel like... Oh shoot, I'm blanking. Is his name Seth? I feel like Quick Style did an event at VIR, but maybe I'm getting all mixed up. Whew, time to hydrate. It's getting warm in here. Got some studio lighting, we got the monitors. It does get warm. Looking to go to Shenandoah soon. Grew up in Hampton, Virginia. Okay. Live in North Carolina. Right on. Some of my Discord crew is in North Carolina. I don't know if North Carolina has a whole lot of... I feel like there was a drift event that I saw, because one of my moderators is from North Carolina. So I mentioned it to him, but he was busy or it was too far away. I forget what. Yeah, I used to live in Virginia back in the day. How long can I drift before taking a break, like in real life? Again, it depends on the car. If I had like a E36 or something, or a stock 240, I mean, I could drift until the car either ran out of gas or the tires went out, which would be, shoot, 30, 40 laps at least, like longer than I would want to. Like, you would become tired and your focus would start to get a little sketch. But for me in my car right now, about 6 laps, and then I need to let something cool down. So that is the gist of that. What's up, Newmeister? Do you need a light wheel for the sim, or will a real racing steering wheel work? It depends a little bit on your wheelbase. You can absolutely use a real racing wheel, but if you have like a weaker wheel that doesn't make a whole lot of torque, like anything by Logitech or maybe a Thrustmaster like TMX Pro or T150, then a lighter wheel will help it keep up and spin as quickly as it needs to. If you have a little bit of a more powerful wheel, like anything that's got a pure belt drive, not a gear belt hybrid, then you can absolutely run a real racing wheel. I'm using a real wheel, and it's fine. Holy short, thank you for hosting these. Streams are super fun. I appreciate that, man. Now, see, IRL is pretty car dependent, but I mean in sim. Oh, if I really want to, I'll drift around 3 hours, 3 or 4 hours. I don't know. I'm probably getting a little old, so I'm sure that somebody who's like between 13 and 21 could do this longer than I could. But I'm pretty happy to drift around 3 hours straight. But usually hour 3, I start getting pretty goofy and not really being all that accurate. JT Pro, there he is. What's up, dude? Bought that 3000 GT I was talking about. $500, runs handles. Nice. Dude, that's awesome. Yeah, post it up in IRL cars. I want to see it. Congrats, that's awesome. You don't see too many 3000 GTs. No, in sim, I mean, granted, if I'm tandeming really hard and I crash the car, I guess that resets the counter. But yeah, I can just go for days. When I'm live streaming, it's a little different because I need to read chat. I need to interact with you guys a little bit as well. So if I'm doing one of these kind of streams that has more of a Q&A vibe while I drift, then I take a lot more breaks because I'm always having to get distracted from what I'm doing on the driving side and read the chat. But if I'm not streaming, for example, and I'm just BSing with one of my friends on voice chat, which I don't do as much as I would like to, I'm just too busy. But occasionally I'll drift with some of my IRL drift buddies in the sims and we'll talk for a bit. And I'd like to do a little bit more of that. Then yeah, I can go for a pretty long time. But 2 hours is... hour and a half is comfortable, 2 hours is okay, 3 hours is... I'm gonna be really sore by the time I get up. Have you looked into real field clutch pedals for sim racing? Something like clutch bike going on? Not a lot. Generally, like the setup that I have new, which I bought it used to save money, but new, my setup is probably at least $2,000 after shipping and tax. And so, like, I feel like that's a ton of money. I'm not trying to spend a whole lot more. I suspect that the clutch pipe type of pedals are even more. Obviously, that's like everything, so they're not going to be that expensive, but, you know, it all adds up. I'd be interested in it if a brand wanted to work with me, get some review videos and a few other things going on, but in the absence of that, I'm going to keep rocking these Fanatec V3s until they break, and then maybe I'll reassess. Mason, what's up? Just got Assetto a few hours ago, and it's going to be a couple days until I can actually use it because of bad internet. Well, that is a bummer, but hopefully you can get in on some good action soon. If you haven't already, but I bet you have, check my playlist. I've got a whole playlist on how to set up Assetto Corsa for PC to get it ready to mod. Install Content Manager, Custom Shaders Patch, Soul, Mod Cars, Mod Tracks, and then you can join in on one of our bashes if you ever have good internet handy. Toshko, do you think clutch bite is necessary? No, not at all. I mean, it would be really cool, but it's absolutely not necessary. Especially for, like, race driving or drifting. Like, you want to be smooth, but especially in drifting, you're trying to slide the tires, so you don't even have to be smooth. You can just do a burnout every time you start the car, and it's fine. In a racing setting, it's a little bit more precarious. Like, if you were grip racing, you'd want a nice launch off the start, so you wouldn't want to overdo it, and it could help, but the rest of your laps, you shouldn't ever be starting from a stop, and so then again, it doesn't matter. It's cool, but I don't know that you need it, if that makes sense. The new car is posted in IRL Cars. Cool, we'll check that out. For anybody who's following along wondering what JT and I are talking about, it's the KameTrick Discord. It's located down in the description, and feel free to check it out. We got 9,000 some members. Sim drifters mostly, real drifters, a few people like me who do both. And it's a fun little community to be a part of, so I'd welcome you to scope it out. And if you're into Discord, hop on in and join us. We always have a good time. Stay Cross. Am I sponsored by any companies? I have a wheel sponsor for the real car, and I got those wheels quite a while ago. I had a tire sponsor for a while that was giving me a low grade discount, and I ended up switching to a different tire that I felt was a little bit better fit for my vehicle, so I'm not currently running a tire sponsor. It's a little challenging to get sponsored as a not aspiring pro driver. Like, I feel like there's a pretty defined path for, like, I'm trying to go pro, and either I'm good enough or I'm not, and I have a social media presence or I'm not. But if you're trying to go pro, companies are a little bit more interested in sponsoring. For me, I'm not. I'm literally like a grassroots Matsuri drifter, and that's what I'm about. And so eventually I can continue to grow my socials, and I suspect that I can connect with more companies that want to. I have been sponsored before, like I've said, but for the most part, I just buy everything with my own money, you know, like I've been doing for the entire time. Sponsorships are great. Subsidizing my drifting is great when I can, but for me, I'm almost more aiming to let my YouTube content sponsor my drift life than trying to get like a coilover company to sponsor my drift life. Or, you know, all the different companies, basically. That's the hope anyway. We'll see how it goes. Can I drift this track with just the gas and the foot brake? Yeah, absolutely. I have been doing that most of the track. Well, when I tandem, I wouldn't want to, but if I was driving a solo lap, sure. Assetto does have a Japan pack, Japanese pack, and they have some drift cars. I guess I'll try to do one lap using just the gas and foot brake. But it's going to be pretty hard because we've got 32 cars on this server, and more than likely somebody's going to try to tandem with me, or I'm going to catch up to somebody else who is tandeming. But we'll try to get one lap around without getting killed. I'm going to try and do it with just my right foot only. No clutch. clutch, just the right foot, and a whole lot of patience. As I'm getting bumped by the chase car. Second. So yeah, there you go. Literally just the gas pedal plus the clutch to shift. I can do that. Challenge accepted. And I would say cleared. Yep. Fun to do. It was okay. It could have been better, but like I said, the whole theory that I have about drifting is a good driver should learn to position the car roughly where they want to without relying on left foot brake, without relying on the handbrake. Now, if you're in a pro car, left foot brake works a little differently because they're so gripped up that if you get off throttle, sometimes weird stuff happens. But if you're in a car like mine, like this car on screen right now, that's me, and it's a normal car, like a Matsuri car. My car is pretty gripped up for like a street car, but it's nothing crazy. You can float it off throttle and it won't instantly grip up and switch in the other direction and stuff. Really what you want to focus on, my belief about this, is focus on transitioning at the right time so that you don't have to e-brake, so that you don't have to like stretch the drift out. And then transition with the right amount of force. Throw the right amount of force in the transition to where the car goes to the angle that you want it to be at to go around that turn. And when you get to where you can do that, for the most part, you know, as often as possible, then the amount of adjustments that you'll have to make with the left foot brake or with the handbrake or with clutch kicks is really small. And it makes you a better driver because you have learned the fundamentals and you've gotten all of those features like built in, and it just takes practice and experimentation. But then when you add all of those tools back into your arsenal, you can drive so much harder, so much more confidently, because you have all of the ability to make adjustments with the e-brake or the foot brake or the clutch. That's a good way to go. Dominic asks, the default cars just don't slide. Should I look into modded cars or do I just suck? The default cars, if they're not drift spec, are no good for drifting specifically. Like if you're trying to drift a stock like Corvette, I wouldn't advise it. If you have the Japanese pack and you're trying to drift the Drift Spec 8.6 or the Drift Spec Supra or whatever, they're driftable, but they're also not good, in my opinion. I would say go straight to the World Drift Tour Street Pack and give that a try. If you can't handle that, given that you're on a G923, it's a mix of either you're not good or your wheel's not good. If you drift in real life, it's your wheel's fault. If you don't, it's 50-50 probably. But really starting with good mods is a good start. And also hop into the Discord, go to the Logitech settings Logitech channel and apply those settings. What do you do if you find yourself angle stalling or over rotating in transition? By the time that you are in the moment, you're already screwed, basically, and you need to decide, do you want to intentionally go ahead and spin the car and do it as slowly as possible, but like stay on throttle a bit so that the car doesn't lose as much speed, so that if there's somebody behind you, they have more time to realize you're screwing up and they can try to get out of the way? Or do you shut it down as quickly as possible, or like try to go 180 and give them an out to drive by you instead of being this way, which is harder for them to avoid than when you're like that. But you're probably more asking, how do I stop from doing that? And my how to drift without spinning out video is exactly what you want, because an angle stall is the same as spinning out. It's just a little bit less. That means you just barely overcooked it. Generally queue up less angle before the transition. If you're like over here at gangster angle, big angle, the car's going to transition to big angle 9 times out of 10. So when you're going around a turn, when you're getting ready to transition, just drive in such a way that you're not on the lock stops, and it'll make it a bit easier. Another thing you can do is breathe onto the foot brake in transition. Specifically when the car is facing about straight ahead, go onto the foot brake right there, and that'll slow the car's speed down, put a little bit more weight in the front of the car, and change it from a snap. The first half will be kind of a snap, and then from here on it'll be a slower transition, and it should help you with getting around that. Dominic tried the Mustang, it was awful. Yep, that'll do it. I honestly think that the Logitech wheels are not the best for dedicated drifting, but you can make it work. So get the settings out of the Discord. I don't know if we have anything specifically for a G923, but basically all the Logitech wheels work about the same. So just try the settings that are in there with your wheel, and it'll help. Get a LUT, run the LUT generator. That's also described in more detail in the channel there, and we'll get you set up. What's up, Conrad? This is my first Matsuri. Thank you. Tons of fun and way better drifting in a lobby than by myself. Right on, man. Samzy, sorry, the Discord is linked in the description. Just check below, and it's in all my videos, so you can find it there. Guys, that is all we've got here on YouTube. It is time to switch over to twitch.tv/KameTrick in order to continue going on. I'll drop a link in. So I'm ending the YouTube stream, but I am not ending my actual stream. That said, I'm going to be working on a little bit of grip practice for an IRL track, a road course that I'm going to be drifting. So it will be a little different. That should do it, and I hope I will see you guys over there. If you have a Prime Gaming sub on Twitch that you're not using and you'd like to support me in what I do, I would love it if you drop it on the channel over there. We'll be live in about 5 minutes. Just going to change the settings on my encoder, get logged in over there, and I'll see you guys there. Have a wonderful night. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next Friday. Peace.